Okay, go ahead.
Right. From my recollection, even though Trump he's an asshole. He's just a dude. He did like make a joke out of Puerto Rico's the storm. I think it was Maria that it went through. Um, he's just a dick about shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm not mistaken, America did send stuff over to help with
Yeah,
everything. It's just
I remember like pallets of water, medical
yeah, it's that
supplies.
the government, the governor that was running everything, he was hoarding everything in warehouses. But
Yeah,
and then when the second storm, if I'm not mistaken, hit and people like it got damaged, people saw everything that was being hoarded, and then that's when like his whole, I guess, empire crumbled down because they got on his ass.
right. So the idea is that she's saying, "Oh, it's Trump's fault because he could have helped," but I was explaining to her, well, the governor's supposed to be first in line, right? Otherwise, why do you have a governor, right? The governor is supposed to step in as they are the head of the governance of the people of, like, let's say the state. Puerto Rico has a governor, so in some aspect, Puerto Rico is a state, right?
I
That
guess.
local government is supposed to be the first in line to deal with and address situations that are affecting that governor's people. The governor of
Yeah.
Pennsylvania is supposed to address the people of Pennsylvania when something happens.
Hmm.
The president is not all omnipotent, right? You don't just be like, oh, I'm going to just jump in and start doing things. You got to go through the governor first. You've got to work around them and how they're managing the situation. If the governor of Puerto Rico is corrupt, whether it's the previous one, I think it was her name was Vasquez or Velasquez or whatever her name was, or the
No, I think
guy,
he took over the corrupt one. If I'm not
yeah, and
mistaken.
the current guy who's also like in his scandals and stuff, right? But the point is that, like, yeah, Trump can do all he wants to help and send supplies, but like ultimately, whether that stuff even gets to the people is up to the governor if they want to distribute that stuff. Like, sure, you can assist and aid, but if the governor themselves say, "Nah, I'm good," or I'll take this stuff, but I'll work around and manage how I handle it. Like, for example, the January 6th stuff, right? They like to blast around the whole, oh, Trump let it get out of hand. No, Trump called in for extra reinforcements and security, and he called for a bolstered National Guard. The mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser, told him, F off, you're not getting that, right? And so the local officials, they have jurisdiction to accept and deny outside support from the presidency or even the federal government, right? Like with the,
Yeah, because technically every state is still a self-run state.
it's sovereign.
The
It's,
government is just an overseer. That's how it's supposed to be either way.
yeah, it's a situation here where the governor has to manage with the resources they have available to them, first with what they can do, and then if they need additional support, then they can call upon higher like aid, and so what I'm trying to explain to her is that, oh yeah, sure, okay, it seemed like Trump didn't want to help the people of Puerto Rico, and it could have been in various reasons, aspects, like, oh, maybe poor communication with the governor of Puerto Rico, or the governor of Puerto Rico maybe did communicate, took the product, the supplies, the resources, and then just didn't distribute it among the people. The claim here is that Trump only sent the people of Puerto Rico like paper towels. When
No, no. He sent supplies. It's that the governor was hoarding that shit.
Yeah, and I tried to explain to her, my aunt here, that like this narrative she's getting fed by the media that she consumes is like not accurate information. And
No,
I wanted her
no,
to hear
completely
from
one sided.
you, an actual Puerto Rican person who speaks with actual Puerto Rican people, the actual thought process that's going into what she's saying and how accurate or inaccurate she is with this information. And I wanted her to hear it from you specifically because she's not going to sit there and listen to me and take my word on this matter. So,
Okay, well, first of all, hi, Auntie. I'm Mario. I've known Anthony since ninth grade. Um, I'm Philly born, Philly raised. Yes, I'm Puerto Rican. Uh, but yeah, Trump may be a dick a lot of the times, but for the most part, he has the common interest of Americans. You know what I mean? Like even with the border stuff that's going on now, like Biden and his people, they're just letting anyone undocumented through. And there's been a
terrorists,
lot
I
of
mean,
crimes and everything that's happening down south and stuff like that. Even recently, I think yesterday or something, I saw a short of one of the sheriffs put out. I forgot where it was. That a woman was walking or going on a date with someone that she didn't know was an illegal immigrant or something like that, and she felt scared, and she called in. She called the police, acting like she was calling for pizza. One of the tricks that women use for safety, and the police got there when the dude was trying to rape the chick, and she was saved. You know what I mean? Like the border, like before they opened the border, we had a process of people to get into America. It's just that they needed to be documented. But now they're just letting anyone in because they're trying to use those numbers to try to boost votes and shit like that for the Democratic Party.
well, yeah, then there's that. It's like the thing about Latinos, right? Legal Latinos, I guess you could coin the term, right?
Shit, man, they get over here like the Mexicans and everybody. They get over here. They don't even want the other people to get over here.
Yeah,
They switch up. They switch up fast as fuck.
legal, like documented, properly like applied citizens of Latino creed, they look at the open border and it's infuriating, you could say, right? And it's like, well, we work so hard to get here. Well, Puerto Ricans are American born and American citizens by default, but other like people from Latin America, they work hard and they gain that citizenship. And then they just see some dudes just hop on a truck and then cross like the desert wasteland, and then just crawl through an open crack under the border wall that was still being in construction, and
That's
then just
another thing
come
too,
in here like,
because you know when they were separating the children from the adults and stuff like that.
yeah. So here's
It's
the thing.
like
Uh,
those adults are putting those children in danger, crossing a desert, crossing like an ocean or lake, whatever it is, the channel.
the
Like they are
canal,
putting
yeah,
those kids in danger.
yeah, but
That's the same shit that would happen in the states, like with taking CPS and taking the kid from a abusive parent. You know what I mean? Like
so
that's
here's
crazy.
here's the situation regarding that though, right? Oftentimes these kids who are separated from these adults aren't even the actual parents of the children. They're the mules. They're the people who work either with or alongside the cartels to transport these children in. These adults oftentimes are completely unrelated outside of the fact that they're effectively just the delivery man, right? They're here to transport and bring in the children, and then the idea is that the parents would be either be coming after or even maybe before the children would arrive, and that the idea then is that they'll reunite somewhere down the chain. um, but the general idea is that the parents don't want to risk the safety of the children alongside themselves possibly dying in the inclement weather. It's basically a desert down there. um, and then that's just it. So they'll usually send the children in with the smugglers, the coyotes, right? Their nicknames. They're called coyotes, and so that way, if for any reason in particular the parents maybe don't make it to America, the children at least get in through the means of the smugglers. But a lot of people of Latin American heritage do not like the concept of just breaking into a country that they worked hard to get into, or were born into this country under like legal ancestry, and who have had folks like their parents or grandparents who moved in and worked hard to build up a life and a successful like future, and even a good family here in America. And they don't like the idea of someone else just coming across and just getting free phones, free homes, free cars, free 4-star and 5-star hotel stays, you know?
That's
And
another thing. Like, how are you giving all these illegal immigrants like all these resources, yet when a state of ours or somewhere in our fucking vicinity has a terrible fucking tropical storm or national
yeah,
something,
2 whole
you
hurricanes.
send them like $750 that they have to sign up on internet that they do not have because they just went through a fucking storm.
Yeah, the Biden admin or the Biden
Yet,
Harris
yet,
admin
yet
gave
you
them
could send
$700
fucking trillions and billions
to war.
or whatever, yeah, to Ukraine. That has nothing to do with us.
Ukraine, Gaza with Israel, the radicalized Muslims versus the Jews and the Israelis and the Palestinians, all that
Don't
stuff.
get me wrong. All that shit that's going on down there is
Tragic, yes, tragic, right? But ultimately, it shouldn't be our problem, right? Um, I mean, it doesn't concern us
besides that,
relatively.
like you're printing fake ass money, right? And you're sending it over there, but yet you're raising everything here,
Right.
and you could have
America.
just like gave everybody fake ass money, so that way, like you know what I mean,
Yeah,
we
mass
could buy it for
printing
'em.
and conjuring money out of thin air to send over to wars for munitions and murder and mass genocide and just killings, right?
All I'm saying is dumb
Then
because it's
the American people.
everything's a digit now and number in on the internet, but you can't fucking just make up a random infinite digit and just give it to people.
Well, they technically can, even if it becomes more and more detrimental. Just basically, the idea is that we're at like what $35 trillion national debt, and
That's
they
another thing. Fuck you mean a national debt, nigga. I ain't. Well, why am I in debt for somebody that lived fucking 200, 300 years ago? What the fuck that got to do with me? They ain't got shit to do
no.
with me.
So the
Why I gotta pay
ideas
that shit?
of the national debt is the federal government and the Federal Reserve. They will basically print the money out of thin air. So the idea is that they would take the money from taxpayers. You pay taxes, and then the government uses that money to do its thing, right? Its programs, its policy effects that they try to implement. The idea of why we're in
Sending
national
random
debt,
money to random places.
well,
You
the
know what I
reason we're
mean?
in national debt is because the government took all the tax money that was forwarded over, but then said, well, we need more money than we've got to fund the things that we're going to do. So we're just going to conjure and print non-existent money, and then basically owe debt to the citizens.
You know
And
that's a theory or a conspiracy of why they killed JFK, right? 'Cause he was about to
he was going to shut down the deep state and all these corrupt bureaucrats. Yeah, and that's why they got rid of
and
him.
he was gonna sign off on changing the banknote. Forgot what it was called, but it would have made that currency fuck off. I think it's going back to like what's actually in
Well,
the
America
gold.
used to operate off of the coin, right? The silver coin, or like dimes, nickels, even pennies for copper, quarters. The physical paper dollar that we use now technically had not existed until I think actually was it the 50s? I have to look into that again, but we used the coin up until that point. Um, However, prior to the current American, actually, no, I think the American dollar we're using now came out sometime in the 1800s, actually, further back. I think after Abraham Lincoln, so after 1865. But prior to that, there was a Confederate dollar. Now, I don't know if it was in paper form or if it was also in coin. But the idea is that we switched over to using the paper dollar once we started generating national debt, because coins actually have value. They're metal, right? Paper is near valueless. It's just paper. The idea is that we treat it as though it has value, but it's just a piece of paper. Coin is
Yeah,
actual.
that's why we could go digital now without any real fucking
Yeah,
consequence.
so they want. Well, that's a different topic. They're trying to force an all digital currency where they can control our money and stuff, and it could just zilch our bank account if we like step out of line, and
Yeah.
disobey. But that's a different topic for, like, I guess, a different time to discuss there. But the idea here is that down in the southern part of the U.S. where it's like Georgia and Florida, they got hit like by
Actually, no,
two.
that's a different topic altogether. Cause we went way off the topic.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
so just to wrap it up, Auntie, again, nice to meet you, even though we haven't seen face to face. Um, that Puerto Rico fiasco, yes, Trump is a dick. No, it was not his fault. It was because of the corrupt governor that they got handled. They got booted out of there. Uh, the island got back to where it's supposed to be and all that. Um, yeah, and that's it.
oh, and
Uh,
one other thing. You're
what?
aware that I think it was like 7, 8 months ago, Kamala came to the Puerto Rico, and there was like a mariachi band there waiting for her, and they were singing along like, what you come here for, Kamala? I don't know if you were aware of that, and I don't know, maybe if I wanted to bring that up, and then you could talk about that. Um, Maybe. So apparently Kamala, to the people of Puerto Rico, they're not too fond of her either. Um, so I don't know if you knew about that. That instance where Kamala came to Puerto Rico and she thought that they were cheering and celebrating her arrival when they were actually really telling her, like, you gotta go, like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I remember that, John.
Yeah, and then she had the translator like next to her, and she had to like listen to the translator, like, hey, so like this is what they're saying. They were like, what brings you here? What you came to do? Well, why are you here? If you got nothing to do with us, then leave. Um, so I mean, this idea that the people of Puerto Rico hate Trump, maybe not hate, but like they're indifferent. I would say the people of Puerto Rico are relatively indifferent. They don't despise the guy, but I mean, I don't know if you would say maybe they have a strong distaste for Biden or Kamala, maybe in particular, because she's the border czar. I mean, we've got people coming into the country and raping and killing women at like 3 in the morning who are going out for a jog from their college dorm. These Venezuelan gangs taking over. Um, and I mean,
Oh, you talking about the apartment complex? Yeah, they took
yeah,
that
and
back.
they're also taking over New York City. Yeah, and they're basically like full mafioso right now. They're going to like people's apartments and saying, "Hey, pay up, give us the money, and we'll leave you alone." If
Yeah,
you,
no, I heard that the cops took back the apartment complex.
I don't know about that, but I know that there was an investigation from independent journalists who went and said, well, we're asking questions, and a lot of the people who weren't Venezuelans said, "Oh yeah, that's definitely going on." But then the journalists who asked the Venezuelans who were on site were told by the Venezuelans who were there, "Oh no, that's totally not happening, man. Like, you no, something like that's not happening." So there's two conflicting stories from two different blocks of residents, or what's the word I want to use? Two different I wouldn't say category, but demographics, right, of residents. Non-Venezuelans saying, yeah, there's some crazy stuff happening out here, and then the actual Venezuelans who may or may not have been part of the gangs, um, couldn't confirm or deny any instances of that, but they said no, this type of stuff is not happening. It's not real. So there's two different conflicting stories going on there, um, and from what we know, people in Colorado there, was it Aurora, Colorado? From what we're hearing, they're trying to cover it up and brush it under the rug, the authorities. So I guess maybe we'll never know. Um, but yeah. Oh, and she might bring up the topic while we're already on the line here. So you're aware about that comedian the other day, right? Who was at a Trump rally? I think it was called MSG, right? Um,
Nah.
he made a joke. I think his name was like Tony something. He had made a joke about like Puerto Rico. I'm gonna paraphrase here, so I guess you can get the idea of.
About kill Sony?
Yeah, no. He was the paraphrased statement of what he said was like, "Oh, Puerto Rico, you know that place like that quote unquote like island of like trash in the middle of the ocean." Mind you, this is a specific individual in question here, a comedian, right? He was at a Trump rally. He took the stage. This was like maybe about a week ago here or so. And I'm mentioning this now because it might be brought up, and I don't want to come back and do like another one of these things and then keep like bleeding your time. But the idea is
Yeah,
that,
kill Tony.
yeah,
Yeah. Tony Hinchcliffe.
yeah, Hinchcliffe. So this guy made a joke about Puerto Rico basically being like an island of trash in the middle of the ocean. The new thing that's happening now is that they're blaming Trump for what his joke was or his comments were, right? Um, and my thought process as well. I mean, comedy is supposed to be set up where you make jokes at people's expense. Now, I believe the idea that people can feel offended if they want, and take up like arms against it. However, the idea is that the point of comedy is, I guess, that it's supposed to be offensive, right? I mean, at least I thought that it was supposed to be, right? There's a lot of dark humor there, but they want to drag Trump under the rug and say it's Trump who's bad because of what that guy Tony Hinchcliffe said, and his remarks in his joke or his comedic skit about Puerto Rico, right? Um, I know there's probably going to be some like mention of that following afterwards. I guess if you can give your take on that. You still there?
Yeah. I was just reading real quick.
Okay.
Um, I mean, he is a comedian, but it was the wrong place and time to make that joke.
So basically, you're a comedian, but this is a political rally. There's no time to be doing this right here. Um, I mean,
If it was a wittier joke, you know what I mean, and it wasn't so deadpan, it could have like skated by, but it it was the wrong joke to make at the wrong time.
but
That's
but
came up
okay.
for
So
me.
your opinion on the idea of comedy being offensive, or in a way where it's going to say something that triggers someone. How do you feel about that? Do you agree? I mean, they tried to cancel Dave Chappelle because he made jokes about trans people, right?
No, no. people are gonna feel whatever they're gonna feel. You know what I mean? Comedy is comedy though. If it's a joke and it's meant to bring a zest, I guess you could say a little sting with the joke. Like some jokes are a little stingy, some jokes they're not. Some jokes fall flat, you know what I mean? Some jokes make people laugh, some jokes make people cry because it brings up memory. People gonna feel what they're gonna feel. Does that mean like you should punch somebody in the face because they made a joke you don't like? No. Does that mean you should, you know what I mean, cancel somebody or ruin somebody's life because they made a joke you don't like? No. You could say like if the joke was distasteful, that's your opinion, you know what I mean? Uh but all this other crap about canceling and all that other crap, that's fucking retarded.
Okay, so basically, Tony Hinchcliffe, um, as far as what you can say, he he's fine, but he better not do it again in that particular situation, um, because it doesn't have relevancy to the topic at hand. In that case, it's a Trump rally. It's supposed to be set up for elections. It's supposed to be, sophisticated, cordial,
No, it doesn't. It
respectful.
doesn't need to be all sophisticated and shit. But if
Okay.
it was a wittier joke, I'd and like a more light-hearted joke. You know what I mean? Because if he
Hmm.
just said, "Oh yeah, Puerto Rico's trash," you know what I mean? He could say, "Oh yeah, Philly's trash." You know what I mean? That's more of a statement in the joke. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's like if he would have worded it differently, if he would have made like a twist to it or something at the end to make it look like I don't know, it's shining or something. Like he just worded it wrong. It was a wrong joke. You know what I mean? Especially at a Trump rally. A rally could have a joke, a comedian, but it needs to be fire. It can't be deadpan and like just dead. It can't be
Okay.
trash.
So you would say, I know you can't speak for all people of Puerto Rican creed, right? But would you say that that joke was problematic, and that might really piss off a lot of people from Puerto Rico, or do you think most Puerto Ricans will brush it off and say, "Eh, whatever"?
Uh, where is this?
Because
Um, no, I'd say because believe it or not, Puerto Rico has a lot of Puerto Rican pride. You know what I mean? Like
so
if he
there.
would have said this at Puerto Rico, he probably would have got knocked the fuck out.
Okay, but do you think most Puerto Ricans might just say whatever, I don't really care, it's a corny joke, or do you think there might be some few outliers who might say, this is really a problem? Um, or like, I mean, I guess the idea here is that, do you believe most Puerto Rican people are not weak-minded enough to let it bother them, and they'll just keep it moving? And they're not going to listen to the media say, "Oh, look how much racism, look how much
They,
bigotry."
I wouldn't say that they're not strong-minded enough to keep it pushing, but there are some people, that they still like will make a deal out of it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like most of us will be like, "Oh, he's a fucking asshole," and then just like keep it pushing. You know?
Well, because the connotation here is that Trump is somehow, specifically Trump is responsible for what Tony said. Tony, the comedian, Mr. Tony Hinchcliffe here.
I know, I know.
They want to blame Trump and say Trump is oh, look how bad he is, right? So they're trying to reflect Tony upon Trump, but Tony is his own individual. And they're doing this to make Trump look bad. Um, Now,
Yeah, that's dumb.
yeah, so um, I guess to score political wins, be like, hey, Puerto Rican people, look how bad Trump is. He doesn't like you, right? He's got this dude, this Tony Hinchcliffe guy, right? Look at what he said about you. This is what they're saying now. They're saying, look, Puerto Rican people, look how much Trump hates you. He brought this guy into his rally, and his guy said some really, really bad things about you. You know, you gotta
Okay,
demonize Trump, right?
and is there? Not sorry to cut you off, but is 10:18 and I still haven't eaten
Okay,
dinner? Is there a point to
okay,
this?
okay. I'll let you go now. Basically, I guess if you're able to answer the question really fast, then
What's
I
the
can wrap
question?
it up.
What's the question?
Oh, so the idea is that they're blaming Trump for what one other man said during one of his rallies.
Right, that's dumb because a dude's a comedian. Whatever a comedian's gonna say, even though it's gonna be zesty and shit, is still a comedian saying it.
It's not Trump himself, and you
Exactly.
can't punish one man by simple association.
Exactly.
Thank you. I guess if I need one of these ever again, because I'll let you know.